Dark Magician of Team Sorcerers here, and welcome back to What If Wednesday. And yes, I am doing a load of these back to back, carrying them on into September. And it should be September at the time you're seeing this. So, yes, in this one we're going to talk about Wild Thing, the robot who makes our hearts sing. In the previous Robot Wars What If, I talked about what would happen if Wild Thing beat Hypnodisc, but now let's move on one series over, Series 5, when it takes on Chaos 2. And we all know what happened. Chaos 2 just about managed to win on a judge's decision, despite almost being pushed into the pit twice. Which brings us to the point of the What If video. What if Wild Thing successfully pushed Chaos 2 into the pit? So, would anything change? We shall see. Well, it would be Chaos 2's first defeat in the main series Grand Championship, and it would mean that it would face Spawn again and S3 in the losers melee. Spawn again wouldn't really get to do much. It would get hit a couple of times by S3 and still break down like it did in the actual timeline. So then it's more of a clash between Chaos 2 and S3, which I think I talked about before, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Chaos 2 would be able to push S3 around at a certain angle, either at the back or into one of its little corners, and flip it around, and would probably be able to get S3 out the arena. Either way, I'm just not sure S3 would win this. I mean, it might have a small chance against Chaos 2, but Chaos 2 is more likely to win that encounter, so Chaos 2 gets back into the main competition, but would still go on to face Bigger Brother. And we all know how that turned out. And as for Wild Thing, well, it would face off against Razor, but I don't think would beat Razor. It would just grab a Wild Thing before it gets at Razor with the disc and just crush the top of Wild Thing. And yeah, it would just be a bit of a struggle, and yeah, I'm sure it would last to another judge's decision, but ultimately Razor prevails. And then basically the rest of Series 5 goes the exact same way. So for Series 6, the top 4 would remain the same when it comes to the seeds. Only a Wild Thing would be seeded 5th instead of Chaos 2, and Chaos 2 is instead seeded 6th. Then Dominator 2 would be 7th, S3 would be 8th, Panic Attack would be 9th, and then Spawn again is still 10th, Stinger still 11th, and Tornado 12th. So, going into the heats, first two, nothing changes. Wild Thing's heat is Heat C now instead of E, and that plays out the same way with Wild Thing winning. Then Heat D, Dominator 2's heat is this one instead of J, and that plays out the same way. Then E, Panic Attack's heat is here instead of being Heat I. Terahertz wins that one, and then Heat F, G and H, literally nothing changes. then going to heat I, that's S3's heat, instead of D, and S3 wins that one. Then J is Chaos 2's heat, instead of C. That plays out the same way with Danton Kier winning. And then, yeah, K and L, literally nothing changes. So going into semi-final 1, it would mean that Razor would face Terahertz, Firestorm would face 13 Black, and Wild Thing would face Dominator 2. So, yeah, Razor and Terahertz meeting 2 rounds earlier than in the actual timeline. It plays out the exact same way, with Razor winning. Firestorm still beats 13 Black in the same way. As for Wild Thing against Dominator 2, well, this is a rematch from the All-Stars tournament of Extreme 1. And Wild Thing, of course, did win, but unfortunately, this is a weaker version of Wild Thing, and it can't really do anything against Dominator 2, and Dominator 2 just keeps hitting Wild Thing with the axe, even puncturing a tyre. This time, Dominator 2 prevails. So, yeah, we have almost the same losers melee, only Terahertz is here instead of Danton Kier. Yeah, Wild Thing doesn't really stand a chance against either of them, but Terahertz does start out quite well, but then ends up breaking down as a result of its fight with Razor. It couldn't really recover from that, because obviously in the real timeline, after Razor beats Terahertz, Terahertz does break down against Firestorm 4 in the playoff. So the exact same thing will happen here. So Terahertz breaks down, while Wild Thing just gets trashed by 13 Black, and 13 Black prevails. So then, in the next round, 13 Black will go on to face Razor, and Firestorm 4 will face Dominator 2 in a rematch from the semi-finals of Series 4. But this time, Dominator 2 doesn't get so lucky, since Firestorm's 4's armour is thicker than Firestorm 2's, and as a result, Firestorm beats Dominator 2 and gets revenge. Well, meanwhile, the Razor versus 13 Black fight, that plays out pretty much the same way as their All-Stars fight, which makes me wonder how the All-Stars would go. In any case, Razor prevails. So then, in the other semi-final, Tornado faces Hypnodisc and beats it. Bigger Brother would then face Danton Kier, and Danton Kier is just the superior flipping robot. I don't think Bigger Brother will have much luck against Danton Kier, and if anything, Danton Kier would send Bigger Brother flying out the arena. Meanwhile, S3 and Spawn again face off again, but because of the interference problems that Spawn again's been having, it just gets ripped up by S3 again. So yeah, we have the exact same losers melee that plays out the exact same way. So let's see, we've got Bigger Brother, S3, Tornado dance on Kia. So yeah, this would mean that S3 would go on to fight Dans on Kia, and Bigger Brother takes on Tornado. And yeah, I feel like the S3 and Dans on Kia fight would play out the same way as in the actual timeline. Dans on Kia not really doing much against S3. It just basically plays out the same way, and with that, S3 will go on to the grand final. Meanwhile, Bigger Brother takes on Tornado, and yeah, it literally plays out the same way as their fight in the All-Stars of Extreme 2, which makes me wonder if that fight would happen again. Maybe the All-Stars would be a bit different, I don't know. But either way, Tornado does get eliminated here and doesn't go on to become the champion, so already this changes a lot of things. So a Bigger Brother goes through to the grand final. So yeah, it's 3 of the same grand finalists as last time, the top 3 plus S3, which I guess at this point is the luckiest 8th seed, and it actually breaks the 8th seed curse. So S3 would go on to fight Razor, while Firestorm and Bigger Brother face off. Yeah, Razor against S3, this pretty much plays out the same way as the Series 5 fight does. Literally, because obviously they don't fight in the 5th Wars in this timeline, so yeah, it literally plays out the same way, and Razor goes through. Meanwhile, Firestorm 4 just beats Bigger Brother. Just like that, and at long last, Firestorm gets beyond the grand final eliminator. So then, in the 3rd place playoff, we basically have a rematch between Bigger Brother and S3 from the 5th Wars. Yeah, things go more or less the same way as the All-Stars fight, really, with Bigger Brother tossing S3 out the arena. I feel like that's the way it would go. So yeah, it was the best run for the S3 team yet, but then again, it actually wouldn't matter who comes out on top, considering S3 doesn't come back for Series 7, so yeah, Bigger Brother takes 3rd place. And now, the grand final, it's between Razor and Firestorm 4, and yeah, this would play out the exact same way as the 2nd All-Stars grand final, unfortunately. And again, it makes me wonder if there'll be a 4th fight between them in the All-Stars in this timeline. So, yeah, Firestorm just loses forwards and reverse drive, and Razor defends the title, therefore becoming the 2nd robot to defend the UK title. And as a result, does return for Series 7, since, again, just like last time, that Series 6 fight between Razor and Tornado doesn't happen. So, yeah, again, the seeds would be in a bit of a different order. Again, like before, Ming doesn't get seeded and would either replace Zorro or Ming just doesn't enter at all. Either way, Razor is seeded and would take Ming's place in its heat. I feel like this has happened like 2 or 3 times already, so yeah, Razor is still the #1 seed instead. Firestorm 5 would still be seeded second. 3 would be Bigger Brother. Let's see, who else have we got? Tornado, Danton Kier, 13 Black. Yeah. So yeah, Tornado would be seeded 4th. 13 Black would be 5th, and 13 Black would be 6th. Spawn again would be seeded 7th. Terahertz would be 8th. And then of course Panic Attack 9th, Pussycat 10th, Behemoth 11th, Exterminator 12th, Bulldog Breed 13th, Smithy 14th, Thermidor 2 15th, and Storm 2 would be seeded 16th. And again, yeah, this heats would be played in their proper order. But yeah, we've pretty much already gone over this a few times already, so the winners would be Razor, preventing Sync Aggro from going through, Heat B, Bigger Brother's Heat, so Typhoon 2, and let's see, I said 13 Black was the 5th seed, so yeah, Gravity wins that. And Spawn again's Heat, Raging Nightmare, nearly said Gravity. And Heat 9, Panic Attacks Heat, so Tough as Nails, Mute, Bulldog Breed, Thermidor 2, Storm 2, Atomic, Exterminator, M2, who did I say was seeded 8th? It was Terahertz, so Grim Reaper, Danton Kier, because it's the 6th seed, Tornado, and finally Firestorm. And yeah, things play out the same way as before. Yeah, everyone's still in the same semi-final as the original timeline, only obviously Razor replaces Saint Aggro, of course, and Razor would beat Exterminator, and then Bulldog Breed or Gravity, depending. So either way, Razor and Tornado win that, and then semi-final 2, nothing changes, Storm 2 and Typhoon 2 go through. And then of course the grand final, Storm 2 beats Tornado, Typhoon 2 beats Razor, and and depending on whether or not Razor is fit to fight, Razor beats Tornado, and then Typhoon 2 just still wins Series 7. So, yeah, that's pretty much what would happen if Wild Thing pushed Chaos 2 into the pit. I mean, besides a few seeds being swapped around, nothing changes in Series 5, although the biggest major change is that Tornado doesn't win Series 6, and Razor becomes the second two-time champion. But literally not much changes for Series 7. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.